Hi everybody, welcome to Safe Diving. In today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at the Orca torch D550. So Orca torch have sent me this torch to do a review on. This is pretty much how it arrived. Obviously it came in a much bigger box, sort of covered in sort of bubble wrap and everything. But yeah, if you order a D550, this should be what arrives at your door. So the D550 is a pretty powerful, fairly sensible sized dive torch, and it's made as like a primary dive torch that you just kind of clip off onto a D-ring or stow away in a pocket, and when you're going on a night dive or if you're swimming into a wreck, it's just something that you can sort of get out and just sort of have a look around so you can see in the dark. So it's a sensible size. Yeah, first of all, let's take a closer look at sort of what you actually get. So this is the box it comes in. It's nothing too fancy. I'm not overly sort of impressed by the sort of overall finish. I mean, this one is a sample, so I can't guarantee this is exactly what's going to turn up, but this kind of labeling is starting to come off. But hey, it's just the box. I'm not too interested in the box. It's quite good though that they put all of the information right here on the front, mainly for me at this point, because I can sort of just look all knowledgeable talking about this dive torch. So I can say that it has an FL1 standard of 1000 lumens. It's an 1000 lumen torch, which is pretty decent. It's a little bit brighter than I like my primary dive torch, just on a sort of a blue water nighttime trip. But 1000 is plenty, and it's actually a spotlight beam, which is the most practical. If you get it in a floodlight, it's just going to illuminate the entire kind of reef in front of you, which is fine, but it does mean that anyone vaguely in front of you is just going to get blinded, whereas if you have a spotlight like this torch, you're focused on one particular thing and you can shine your torch at that one thing and signal to your buddy, so it's a bit more practical. What else do we have? So maximum burn time of 5 hours and 45 minutes. It doesn't specify if that's at full power or not, but I'll try and test that out to kind of see what the maximum burn time is. Beam distance 253 meters. I don't know whether that's in fresh clean water or whether that's just in some kind of controlled environment, but in kind of the green waters that I usually dive in, I'll be impressed if it goes that far, but in blue water I imagine that's more what they're testing it in. So it's got a Cree LED. Pretty much all LEDs are Cree in some sort of aspect nowadays. Powered by a single 18650 lithium ion rechargeable battery. That's a fairly standard size battery that you get nowadays. You can buy lots of spares for them as well. That's not too much of an issue. Magnetic controlled tail switch. It's got a little push button on the back. 2 brightness levels and 1 strobe mode. So you've got high beam, low beam, and then an emergency strobe. Diving depth rated to 150 meters. That's deeper than I can go, so I'd be quite happy with that. On the other side is pretty much the same. We've got more sort of information about Orca torch down there, but yeah, it's still kind of peeling up. If this was my torch, I'd probably be taking that off, but hey. So inside of the box, it's again, it's not the greatest of quality, but it's the box itself. I'm not too worried about this. You've got a little bit of padding on the top, which hasn't got the nicest of feel of it, but it does the job. The torch has made it to my front door. It doesn't have any nicks or scratches on it anywhere. Sorry, I've already been inside this box. This is a battery protector. This was on the battery, just sort of stopping it from discharging inside of the box. I've already removed that. So we have the torch itself. I'm going to talk about the torch a little bit later. We also have a Goodman style handle, which I'll sort of unwrap and I'll sort of fit it properly in a little bit. We have a obligatory lanyard loop, and again I'll sort of unravel that and show you that. It's always nice to have a kind of backup. I tend to fit a bolt snap onto mine just because it's a bit more secure, but if you're always going to be holding it, if you're going on a night dive, then sure, a lanyard will be that sort of good backup. You also have a small, I always forget which one this is called. I think this is a micro USB cable, and this is for recharging that battery. I'll show you this in a second, but it just means that you can charge it through a USB. So if you've got an iPhone or a smart tablet, they've all got that kind of USB plug. So nowadays you only need that one plug socket. If you're going on holiday, just plug the USB in and you can charge your torch up, you can charge your phone up, you can charge your tablet, you can charge anything up. You also have some spare O-rings. Now these are spare, you don't have to fit these anywhere because it already comes with all the O-rings that you need already fitted. These are just spare ones, so keep them with the torch just in case one of them starts to get a little bit ropey sort of between dives, so you can just sort of swap those over. I can't tell if these are lightly greased or what, but yeah, it's always nice to have some spare O-rings. Book of words, most of it seems to be in Chinese. Oh, but there is in sort of English and English and Chinese, and yeah, it kind of tells you everything. Oh, here we go. So we have the high beam is 1000 lumens, low beam is 367 lumens, strobe is 1000 lumens, but it's just intermittent. Burn time of 2 hours and 5 minutes at full power, 5 hours 45 at low, which is actually pretty good. Yeah. Beam distance 253 meters on land, so that's how far that beam is going to be sort of really obvious. Intensity of 16,000 CD, whatever a CD is. Impact resistance of 1 meter, so if you drop it from a meter's height, it should be fine. Don't test this theory out. Underwater, it can go down to 150 meters. And it weighs 183 grams excluding the battery, but it's a pretty light torch. It's a sensible size. Other than that, you've just got instructions on how to use it, how to fit the battery, a warranty card, so you can fill out all the information and yeah, sort of apply for that sort of extra warranty. The foam padding doesn't want to come out without a bit of teasing. But yeah, you can see the overall quality isn't amazing, but it's the box. I'm not too worried about the box. Let's take a look at the torch itself. Okay, so the torch itself is a sensible sized torch. It fits in your hand quite neatly, and the body itself is made out of anodized aluminium, so yeah, it's pretty light, but it's nice and strong. It's got this kind of matte black finish to it, which is very smart. The tail end, this is crenellated, so you can still access that push button. This section here, that's your push button to activate it, and as I said earlier, it's magnetic, so there's no actual like penetration through the case, which means that water can get in. There's none of that, which is very smart. The crenellation just means it's protected, so it's not going to accidentally switch on if you just kind of bump it around, but it's a decent sort of size, so even if you got some really clunky chonky gloves on, you can still access that button. This one here has a big kind of loop, a lanyard loop through that, so that's where I'll be putting a bolt snap onto that, just tie it on, but if you do have the lanyard itself, you can just sort of push that through and loop that round as that sort of backup so you don't drop it. Moving down, the body itself has got some kind of ridges that give you a little bit of grip, and then moving down to the head, again we got this section here which is sort of looks like it's grip, but that doesn't twist or turn. It's just kind of aesthetics. The bulb in the top, so this is an LED, a Cree LED, so bright white light, and if I open it up, so the tail end is going to sort of open up. No, sorry, it's the body and the head actually comes off. If I unscrew that, okay, so we've got a triple O-ring seal. I don't know if you can see that, but there's 3 black O-rings in that, so you've got a lot of redundancy in there. The battery itself, So this is an 18650 sort of size battery, a little bit bigger than a AA. And as you'll notice here, it has this sort of micro USB so that you can literally, without a cradle, just plug in that USB cable, plug that into a powered USB port, and that's going to recharge that battery. I don't think there are any sort of LEDs on it. If I just plug it in quickly to this USB here. Oh, there is a small LED. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. Let me bring it a little bit closer. If you can see that, there is a tiny little red LED in there, and that's basically telling you that you're charging up that that battery. I haven't read the manual yet, but I imagine that will stop or it'll turn green when it's fully charged. So that's quite handy, just to know if your battery's sort of full up or not. And it does mean that all you have to bring on holiday is that. You don't need to bring a cradle and all that kind of stuff and a big chunky plug that you have to put into an adapter. It's just that. It's very neat and tidy. The battery then goes back into said torch. Hopefully I'll put that in the right way. And then you screw that torch on. When you're doing it back up, always make sure that you're not cross-threading it. If you meet any kind of resistance, you should be able to do it with like fingertips. If you meet any resistance, you might have sort of cross-threaded it, so you might have to back it out. So it just switched on there, but to mainly switch it on, you use the magnetic button on the back. So push that and it switches on. As you can see, the beam is a pretty kind of spotlight beam. There's a bit of a hot spot in there, and then you have this outer corona, which yeah, is pretty standard, and yeah, it's pretty bright as well. So it's 1,000 lumens, and as you can see, it's quite bright white light sort of on my shirt. So it's quite a clinical kind of bluey light. It's not a sort of the natural kind of warmer tones. It's quite a white light, and if I press the button again, it dims down a touch. So this is it in sort of low beam, so pretty similar, but it's like 1/3 of the power. And then press it once more and it turns off. So we have high beam, low beam, and then off. So a quick strobe warning, obviously, if you have photosensitive epilepsy, the strobe is quite stroby. So when the torch is actually on, if you hold that button down for a couple of seconds, it goes into strobe mode. My camera doesn't particularly like this, and yeah, it's going to really get people's attention. But yeah. So it's got that emergency strobe just to sort of get someone's attention, and then just keep pressing that button and that switches off. So the accessories that it comes with, so first of all, I've spoken about the lanyard. If you push that kind of through that little loop and then loop that over itself, you have this wrist lanyard, which will go over your wrist. Just pull it nice and tight, and that will stop that from just kind of falling off. So that's particularly useful if you yeah, if you're going to be using it for the entire dive. Yeah, just put some kind of lanyard on, just so that you can't lose it if you suddenly fumble it. It's not going far. My personal preference would be more like this. So this is the Goodman style handle that comes with it. So it's fabric. It's ambidextrous, so you can put it on your left or your right hand. You've got this thumb loop here, and then you have this Velcro strap that goes underneath and then loops back on itself a couple of times, so you can adjust for different sized gloves or different sized hands, and pull that nice and tight. It's not perfect, but it does the job. We've got this loop here, which has got some kind of sticky neoprene in there, and I imagine you just kind of push your torch through that and that will grab onto it. I probably should have done this first. Ugh. It's not the easiest to do one-handed when it's on the back of your hand, to the point where I might actually take this off. Oh no, I can do it. There you go. So now you have a kind of a wrist-mounted torch. So I quite like this because you can still kind of point and kind of see, but you can still use your hand to do things and to communicate. Obviously, try not to shine it in your buddy's face when you're signaling too much. Your torch beam kind of goes everywhere, but it is quite a convenient way to keep that torch shining, but keep your hands free to do whatever you need to. As I said earlier, it's ambidextrous. It just means that I probably have to, I'll have to move that torch around. But yeah, if you want on your left hand or your right hand, you can sort of chop and change and switch that around. The finish and sort of build quality isn't marvelous, but it's pretty darn good. I'd be perfectly happy diving with this. Overall, yeah, the torch, yeah, it's a good little torch. It's a very sensible size. It's got a decent power rating. It's definitely in the kind of the modern range of sort of powers of torches. So yeah, it's definitely a contender. So that was the Orca Torch D550 torch. I've put links down in the comments below to your local distributor so you can find out where you can buy them from. As an overall review, I'd give it probably a good sort of 8 out of 10. It's for the price bracket that it sits in, you get a pretty powerful dive torch. It's got everything that you need. It's a very multifunctional dive torch. You can use this as a primary dive torch in kind of blue night diving, sort of holiday dives. You can definitely use this as a backup dive torch if you're diving somewhere a bit greener. You've got your primary torch, which is the really sort of powerful torch, and then you just want something that is sensible, that's just going to kind of sit on your harness or in a pocket, but it just acts as a backup. This will be perfect for it. So it's a good multifunctional dive torch. It's pretty strong. The only sort of places that it falls down on are mainly in the kind of the box and the kind of finish and sort of overall feel. It doesn't have that sort of premium feel to it, but I don't think that's a real downer on it. So yeah, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, and yeah, I'd be very happy diving with this at home and abroad. But what do you guys think? Do you like the Orca Torch D550? Let me know down in the comments below, and also let me know what else you'd like me to do a product review on. Pop it down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.